EMS?
No call in.
No calling yet? Just
Really?
checking. Is that working?
It's working, we just don't have that number anymore.
It's just easier not to.
When my credit card got a fraud on it, they canceled the credit card, which canceled the
Delete all out.
All right.
subscription, which I haven't gotten back on the new credit card.
Okay. All right, call to order. Roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Starting you guys off.
We're listening.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
In a second. Discussion. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ken.
Yeah.
Motion approved. Citizens forum.
Anyone can speak, that's items not on the agenda.
Hearing none. We'll close the citizens forum. Moving on to departmental reports. Have it there for that. Send it down.
You didn't memorize it?
No, I tried. Thank you.
19 hours.
So 19 hours and 56 minutes sent in town patrol. Calls for service was 27 hours and 21 minutes. And the total monthly hours for Maxwell for September was 47.28. Patrol time for September was 19.93. And the calls for service was 27.35. Moving on to the fire department. Tony's report of 2 calls with 20 people, 1 mutual aid, 1 at Indian Creek. No maintenance issues, no accidents or injuries. They have a special event of the breakfast coming up October 28th. And then they have a new member, Derek Roth, for fire and EMS. So we will wait until after we complete the EMS report and we'll make a vote on that. EMS report. We have,
We didn't need,
do we need a vote for?
no, there's fire
Can we do them
department
both at the
meeting.
same time?
Yeah.
Who's applying for both? Oh, fire department meeting. Did I miss that one? Got my packet from Myers. Thank you. During the meeting, they had they did some critiques on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calls. They have new gear that just arrived. And Derek Rothy would like to join the department, already certified as an EMT. That was approved by the fire department. There, I found it. So we'll wait on his approval since he's also applying for EMS. Go on to EMS. Calls for September. They had 5 page outs for Maxwell. 3 were responded to. There was 1 to 4 people per call. 1 fire person assist call. City of Maxwell was 1. Indian Township was 1. Washington Township was 1. Of the total 3. EMS monthly meeting attendance was 6. The truck check was complete. CQI was completed by Story County. No vehicle maintenance needed. And plans for the ambulance is on their agenda again.
Yeah, needed from the city plans and all our plans were selling. So they knew that. And I asked what, his last meeting, it said, planning on doing something with the ambulance. And so I asked, and they said, and my daughter Shelley said that the only plans they were thinking about was wanting to know about getting rid of it. So, yeah, let's put it up for sale. I say.
Since it's city equipment, that's something that,
Then we'll have to
we
put it
we
bids
can
again, just like we did with the city truck. So,
Moving on to the EMS meeting. They need to contact Story County about the pharmacy agreement. Derek Rolfe would also like to join the EMS. He's already certified. They have football games, the 6th, the 13th of October. Tony and Jamie are going to cover the 6th. Shelby on the 13th. 28th is a firefighter breakfast. They're asking for EMT help. So on to the volunteer firefighter / EMT.
move approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
And that would be for both fire and EMT.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
yeah,
Lauren,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes,
That motion carries. Moving on to the library, board report. Total of, according for September, total of 135 books were checked out, 5 movies, 28 children in attendance, 80 adults, 12 at the movie attendance, and then 20 at the activity attendance. Bridges had a total of 101 with 78 on hold. Computers were 1 adult and 13 children. Early out events began in September. Library renovation, September 22nd through October 10th. New floors, paint, blinds, installation. And then library renovation, hopefully the end of September and October, new floors, paint. That's all we got. Moving on to the board of trustees for the library. We discussed some library staffing. They applied for a grant. We voted on some strategic training. They're updating their policies. They discussed their budget, it's in good order. Talked about the renovations, 6-month review. That's pretty much it.
so the assistant librarian position, do we have, is that up for hiring, or does anybody know?
They don't have an assistant right now.
Yeah, it says that there are applicants coming in for the assistant library position.
Yeah, I just wondered if they were done taking applicants, or still taking applicants,
Almost
or
like
don't
I need
have
an
any?
event coordinator. Okay. Discussion of new position and event coordinator.
Any additional information on it? All right, moving on to public works. Streets are done for the year. Nothing new in the parks. Water, they pumped 2.4 million gallons. They sold 1.3. They repaired leaking water line to Toots. Water usage numbers are back to normal. They'll be flushing the hydrants this month. The sewer pump 3.7 million gallons. And Tony passed his grade 2 wastewater treatment, so that's good.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Very good. We're on to city clerk. Still moving in process. Candidate papers were turned into the county. And received some comments about our stark walls in here. Invite local photographers and artists to display some of their work. Get more people involved in the city, promote local talent, plus liven up City Hall. I have any problem with that. If you got any ideas on people who would be interested in posting their art,
No, I thought maybe we could just put it out.
I can help with that.
It would be nice if their art though could somewhat relate to the city and not just be random flowers or, I mean, I guess if it's a flower in the park or something, but I mean, they kind of need to see artwork done.
Isn't there a whole bunch still in the museum? Tons of old artwork stuff there stored away.
Maybe. It's not a bad idea.
It's history.
Yep.
We were all trying to figure out where we lived.
Yeah.
Maybe a big ass map of the old stuff. And I know they got one over there.
so a couple ideas,
Great idea.
potential,
Yep.
but we don't have a problem, I don't have a problem hanging stuff up, so. Parks and open spaces board.
We skipping the engineer.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the engineer's not able to make it tonight, but he did send me his agenda. Well, I guess we should probably finish the budget report. Was there any concerns about the budget report?
Treasurer's report.
Treasurers and budget? I think most of the items I saw here were already addressed later in the meeting.
Yep.
Snyder and Associates, Baldwin Street reconstruction, CDBG, reapplications in process. Water treatment, wastewater discharge permit. Final compliance is anticipated to be required by 27. Scope and fee for design of the discharge pump station as requested by the cities and development will be submitted for consideration at the November meeting. Woodlawn storm study preliminary design is nearly complete. Preliminary construction drawings will be submitted to the city for review and comment soon. No request for progress for Rock Creek Estates. Heart of Iowa Trail waiting on grant application response. County has some questions and items discussed before finalizing memorandum of understanding. They'll be reaching out to the city to discuss.
The CDBG was submitted on Friday.
Good. Now on to Parks and Open Spaces Board. Out of flower fundraiser, over $1,000 raised so far, plus $1,000 in donations from city and businesses for the inclusive swing project at the city park. Fantastic. Tree City USA requirements. Members reviewed and recommended to City Council for approval. It's later in the agenda. Application for the Fall Community Forestry Grant for EAB was submitted, but grant funding was not approved, unfortunately. CCF, which was that?
Story County Community Foundation.
Thank you. Story County Community Foundation grant. They've applied for a community grant to improve the city park playground equipment to include a 2-swing structure and an inclusive swing attachment. Estimated cost is approximately $8,000. We should hear if the grant is awarded around October 15th. Members are now part of the Community Visioning Committee to participate in a planning project for the city from IDOT, Iowa Department of Natural Resources, and Trees Forever. This planning will develop plans for trails, transportation routes, sidewalks, some parks. The result will be budgets can be used to solicit bids and donations for developing improvements to our city. And we were awarded that Community Visioning grant of $85,000. Meeting activities will begin yet this October. Small projects, hope to complete this calendar year. A few more garbage can locations, such as a cemetery. A way to solve the problem of people parking in inappropriate places near the dog park, and special tree planting, perhaps fruit trees along the bike trail. Jody, do you have anything else you want to add?
Special thanks to Cassidy Myers for the Autumn Flower fundraiser and the soliciting of donations. That's what popped that other $1,000 from
That was fantastic.
people in town. It's just amazing.
Very good.
Very exciting to have that support.
Yes. All right. On to business. Discussion action on livestock permit for 515 South Street. Steve, you're applying to have 2 meat cattle at your location?
Just when I'm weaning and stuff, not very often.
Just when you're meeting, so just temporarily as needed?
Depends on how they get on the farm.
Were there any objections from the neighbors?
No.
Deb?
No.
Nope. Okay. Move approval of the livestock permit.
Second.
I do have a question. Oh, after we,
Discussion.
you say the manure will be hauled away and disposed of properly. What, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Take that to my hayfield.
Okay.
So your spreader.
So you're gonna haul it and spread it yourself in
Yeah.
on your property?
One of my hayfields.
Okay.
Hearing no further discussion. Steve?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, bye. See you later.
Discussion action
Was
on,
it worth coming down for that?
I
Did
didn't
you
realize
think there
we
would
were,
be
I didn't
We
know
had
we were
good
supposed
discussion
to
for
be
sure.
here, so I was
You
thinking.
think we went and got chairs?
I said it,
You did.
I told you thank you.
All
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
guys. Discussion action on ordinance change city codes on trees. This is the item 6B page. And the next one. So scratch the full code.
Like, this is the code, this is the 6C. Yeah, this
Oh,
one's
I'm sorry.
6C,
This
this
is
one's
parking.
6B. Should be red and blue.
So, why are we doing this?
I'm hoping that with these amendments to chapters 24, 5, and 151, that where we specifically point out that we will plant trees, maintain trees, actively do that sort of thing, that'll be one more thing checked off for Tree City USA.
So it would hopefully qualify us to be certified as a tree city.
Yes.
And why would we want to do that?
Grants available, like the EAB grant that we didn't get. You get points if you're a Tree City USA. And so I thought this was a way to get us one more notch in our belt and look a few more points.
If we adopt these changes, what's it gonna cost the city in dollars and also in staff time? Any idea?
Staff time, I don't know dollars. I know so far, Public Works has taken it to make sure the new trees get watered, and that's at least a 2-year commitment. And I suppose if something's in distress, it would take longer. It can take up to 5 years, to get a tree established. So their time, however they do
We're
that,
already committed to some of that by contract.
because
So this doesn't add any more necessarily.
if we get some of the grants we've gotten, you commit to 2 years, a lot of care. After that, it'll be renewal of mulch, check it out and probably renew it annually. Theoretically, they could have to prune the trees, if something happens.
To be a Tree City USA, does it require a budgetary expenditure each year?
Yes, we have to spend 2%, $2 for every person in the city,
So
which is about $1,800. And so far, we've met that. We spent $1,000 to plant the 3 trees in the cemetery last year this spring, after we didn't get that grant. And it does kind of obligate us to continue planting trees someplace.
or maintaining them, because we just have to spend $2,000.
Yeah, and we can count, I gave Deb a little checklist, as I said, it counts staff time, it can count administration time, the number of volunteers we have and the hours they spend. So the park board, if they participate in that, then we get to count the hours that they spend, as well as dollars for mulch and trees and.
Is it any dollar spent on trees?
Pardon?
Is it any dollar spent on trees? So in
Pretty
essence,
much, I think,
if we have
yeah.
to remove a tree, we still have
Yes,
costing
removal
of-
counts too.
available
Removal
to
counts
that.
too.
So this year alone, we're 30,000 into that.
Right.
So.
And we
I don't
have
think spending the money is gonna be an issue.
And we, so far, I don't think we've ever had any trouble meeting that. I don't know that there's been a concerted effort up until now to make sure we plant approximately 3 trees a year. That's $1,000 right there. So, to make sure we do that. And so this would kind of obligate us to that. It obligates us to celebrate Arbor Day every year. So there's a proclamation from the mayor, and then we have to have an event. If we can, we're supposed to distribute educational materials on trees. And so far this year, I think we've met all of those. So I don't think it'd be tough.
Can you get trees from, like, I don't know where you get them. Anyway, can you get trees to maybe have members of the community be able to buy them as a fundraiser?
Oh, sure. Last spring, when we did part of our Arbor Day celebration, we bought the 3 trees, and then we bought 25 trees from the State Forest Nursery.
That's what I
And
was
those
thinking.
are,
You couldn't do that.
those are what, 12 to 18 inches tall.
Mhm.
Most people aren't excited about those. They're wonderful,
But
and
they need to
they
be
establish.
aware that it's something that should be put on the sign
It
or
was, I think.
people.
Yeah.
So that people know that they're
Right.
available,
Yes.
or free get the information that
Yep.
trees would be available
Mhm.
and use it as a fundraiser.
I never thought about the fundraiser. We were just trying to get people to plant trees, and so we were giving them away for.
In reading the ordinance,
Mhm.
there's a lot of to-dos, and it appears as though Parks and Open Space Committee is going to be the responsible party to make sure that we are shepherded correctly. Is that correct? So that a reminder that we need a proclamation, the
Yeah, that
Parks
would
and
be-
Open Space Committee will do that.
Yeah.
You guys review and make recommendations to the council concerning trees.
Right.
And so,
That will be part of the job of the Parks and Open Space Committee, is to keep us, once you get Tree City designation, you renew it every year. So I haven't looked too much into renewal. I've been working on just getting it, so I'm not sure where it takes.
I'm reading here in section 151.03, duty to trim trees. It says 15 feet above the surface. What about sidewalks? They're talking about. I see it now.
That was
8 feet
listed
above
someplace 8 feet,
sidewalks.
I was gonna say, yeah, I thought that
And
was.
our,
And I know walking around.
And that's
town and getting
existing,
the fruits
existing
lot.
code, that's nothing new.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
existing. The only changes was it was 15 lateral feet and then the overhead utility wire. Wasn't in our current
Mhm.
ordinance,
And I'm sure.
as well as
But then it
that.
says if the tree's in trimmed, it has to be supervised.
And even though our current ordinance doesn't say that, all the trees in the right of way are our responsibility. And if somebody were to go out there and trim something inappropriately that made it so that it was dangerous, we would be the ones that would have to take care of it. So I think that, the amendments to 24, 25, and 151 are reasonable, that need to be put into an ordinance form prior to being published. And so I move that the presented ordinances changing chapters 24, 25, and 151 be drafted in amendment form with a title, amendments to chapters 24, 25, and 151 of Code Ordinance of the City of Maxwell, regulating public trees and establishing responsibilities for them, and that the clerk publish the title so as to allow approval of the ordinance in a single reading at the November 6th meeting of the council. And doing it as a single reading is because I don't feel they're terribly controversial. And if I remember correctly, you said that you had a December timeframe to get applications in.
Yeah, to make it for the whole of 2024, we need to have the, application for Tree City in, I think it's the middle of December.
Of course, if we publish it for a single reading, that doesn't mean we have to do it as a single reading. It means we have the option where we can do it as a single reading. So I make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, we were, there is, in the application for Tree City, it asks when your, ordinance changes and, well, the tree management plan go into effect. And, that's partly why I have the request to waive the second and third readings. You know, if there's a lot of controversy in November, of course, that can't happen, and that's fine. But, that's why I'd like to hopefully get it waived. Second and
And
third readings.
if I remember correctly, I know we have at the end of the ordinance, that it's approved, to go into effect upon publication. And the publication, usually takes a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks to get it, published.
I'm really good, I can get it in that Friday, and
Okay.
it'll be published the next Thursday.
Okay, so it is possible that before December 1st, if we act on it at the November meeting, it will not only be approved, but published and in effect.
Mhm.
Becky?
Further discussion? All right. Megan,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ken,
Yep.
Lauren,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
motion carries. Discussion and action on the tree management plan.
This document is kind of like a comprehensive plan for the whole city, except this is only for trees. And, I suppose it's kind of like a policy statement of how things will be done. Goes into more detail than you'd want to put in a code.
And it's recommended by Parks and open space to the council.
To approve.
Move approval of the tree management plan.
No, second.
Further discussion? Hearing none? Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yeah,
Megan?
Yep.
Lauren?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carries as well. All right, discussion and action on ordinance change to limit the length of time a vehicle can be parked in the right of way.
We discussed this at the last meeting, and I was directed to bring language back, which is what is in the packet. I was not able to get language that authorizes towing. I did send a letter to our, email to our attorney and had not heard back. But I don't think it's terribly important to have the towing, because every day could be a new ticket. And at the end of 30 days at $10 a day, that's $300. And we could, at that period of time, determine whether or not it's an abandoned vehicle and follow what our normal processes would be. If we want to look into that further, we certainly can, but this gets the change that was requested by the council to go to 7 days. And as such, I move that the presented ordinance change to Chapter 6905, entitled An Ordinance Amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Maxwell, to limit the length of time a vehicle can be parked on public property to no more than 7 days, be sent for publication by the clerk so as to allow approval of the ordinance in a single reading at the November 6th meeting of the council. A lot of words, but essentially, let's go forward.
Were we able to update the fees on that? Is that included in that change?
It's not included in this change. But I did ask
Saw that.
about it, and as I said, I haven't heard back, so at least we can move forward with this. And so we have a motion, but not a second.
Motion, but not a second, yes.
I second.
Okay. Further discussion?
If you do hear back and they recommend increasing the fees, can we do that in one motion at the next meeting as well?
Or we'd have to write the ordinance, write it up as an ordinance, and do that separately, probably in December.
So we couldn't do it in November then,
No.
even if you hear tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Oh, I don't know. I could probably get it done. If you have to have it by Friday, right? So if we hear by Friday, well, what,
I would, for the ordinances, I wouldn't have to have it until a couple more weeks.
okay.
I only need to put them in for 4 days. So I would have,
What do we want as a penalty? Right now it's $10. And the code says that if you don't set it at anything else, it's $10. But it then also says that cities can pass a ordinance that allows for a higher fee for certain types of parking violations. But I didn't read the ordinance to see, the state code to see what they were.
Well, just comparing it to snow removal, it's $25 if you park for snow. It seems disproportionately low to have only 10 on that. It's not hardly worth the time of the mayor or anybody to go, and if our intent is to do it every day, we want to get some kind of reaction sooner than later. And 25 might, or 20 might, anything 10, and they say, so what?
Well, if the council would like me to research that, I should be able to get it done in the next 2 weeks and add it to this, and just add at the end of it where it says public property no more than 7 days, and add to that, and establishing fines for illegal parking or something like that. If that's what the council would like.
And who would be issuing the tickets?
Hmm?
Who would be issuing the
The
tickets?
mayor and Public Works,
Public Works Director could.
and the deputy. Any police officer, that's not referred to as a police officer.
Peace officers?
Peace officer, thank you.
Alright, hearing no further discussion. We'll vote on-
Does the council want me to investigate these or bring that as a separate item next month?
Well, if we're gonna change, it'd be nice to do it all at once.
Okay.
So I think if you could, I would amend your motion to add that into it. Friendly amendment.
Accept that as a friendly amendment?
Alright, so we have a friendly amendment.
Is the second still good for the friendly amendment?
Second amendment?
Ken said he seconded it. Second
Oh,
friendly.
Ken did it?
Alright, any further discussion? Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carries.
You can't leave yet, I can't go.
Why, it's tough like that, isn't it?
Take a car, make it walk home.
And I'm doing the walking. Thank
Bye,
you.
Jody.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
You bet.
Discussion and action on ordinance change to designate no parking zones. $69.08 is the coinciding regulation.
Right. Doug has a copy that is part of the packet. But he also had additional discussion with the principal of the school, and they don't have any need for the restriction of parking, so that parking is permitted between 10 and 2 on the 2 streets as indicated in number 2 and 4. So it changes what's in the packet, and I handed out a strikeout, underlined copy of 6908, no parking, so you should have that in front of you. And Doug, does this essentially, or does this do what you and the principal discussed,
Well, superintendent,
the superintendent.
yes. Yeah, he saw no need for the 10 to 2. Either we park there all the time or we don't park there all the time. He saw no value in having that 4-hour block during the day, Monday through Friday.
So as a result of that, number 2 can be deleted completely because we are allowing parking on the north side of Metcalf. And the old 3, which is the new 2, would restrict parking on the south side from Metcalf east to Woodlawn and get rid of all the other language in there. And then there would be, everything would be renumbered on down. Old number 8, which would be a new number 7, restricts parking on the west side of Metcalf, beginning at the south side of the loading dock going north to 4th Street. Which is about 90 feet. And number 8 would have Metcalf on the east, no parking on Metcalf on the east side from 4th to 5th, which is currently what it does.
Changing from 3rd to 4th, because right now there's the new parking in that area.
Yeah.
That side of the ball field.
It used to say 3rd on north,
So where
but that was when the bus barn was there and that parking lot was there, so there was logic of not having double parking there.
And then next change would be adding a new one, new number 14, which is Woodlawn Street on the west side from 3rd to 4th. So we end up with no parking around the school, and then just a few other minor changes. And if that is what was agreed to with the school, then I also handed out a 2-page that put that into a form to be approved or to be published for hearing, and with a title, an ordinance amending the City of Maxwell Code of Ordinances restricting parking in specific areas. And I would move that the presented ordinance change to chapter 6908 be drafted in amendment form with a title of an ordinance amending the City of Maxwell, Iowa Code of Ordinances restricting parking in specific areas, and that the clerk publish the title so as to allow approval of the ordinance in a single reading at the November 6th meeting of the council. And I already have it written in a form. I didn't think I'd have time to do that, but it turned out I did.
I've got a question.
was that your, go ahead, ma'am. Was that your motion?
That was my motion.
A second.
Right. Discussion. You have a question?
Yes, Rock Creek Drive on the north side, it runs east and west side.
Rock Creek, I don't have anything. Oh,
That's the existing ordinance.
Existing ordinance.
Yeah, well, this is on number 11,
It's around the
no
curve.
parking
It's around
zones.
the
it's
curve.
around the curve. So Rock Creek Drive, for city addressing purposes, the whole thing is considered to be a north-south street.
Right.
The question,
What was your
But-
question?
This says on the north side of the street,
So-
in front of the properties.
Okay,
Gonna make it
so
So it
probably
should be
should,
east and west.
But it's only from 602 to 700, which is, I
Right,
believe,
but
is
you
the
can't
curve.
park on the
Just the
north
curve.
side of the
Yeah, but
street,
it's still a
on the
north-south
north side
street.
road.
Yeah. It does get confusing up there. And maybe
Yeah,
that could be cleared up at some other time.
But let me ask a follow-up question in that context. Going by senior housing, you're allowed to park on the west or the left side. But when you get to the curve at 602, then it starts no parking. There's signs that coming south or west that say no parking between
between
signs.
signs and you don't know where they're at.
But you don't know between which signs, so it's confusing. I was of the impression that that middle stretch after the first curve straightens out, and then there's another curve there that goes by Miner's house, so that curve
Right.
there. I thought it was a block here, then allowing driving, well, not block, but a space where you can't, then it allows it between the next two, and then you can't between the last two.
Yeah, where the curves are is where
The
no
curved
parking
areas,
should
but
be.
not the straightaway between them,
Mhm.
is what I was told, and I think that's the understanding
That was
of
the
everybody that lives
understanding.
out there.
And does the ordinance read that way?
No, because it says completely from 02 up to
It's the whole
700.
way, the whole way.
The right-hand side or the south or east side
The
is
east
no
side.
parking all the way.
And on the west side,
And on
it
the
says
west or
no
the north,
parking
depending on
between
what-
signs.
It says
Very.
between signs.
It's a
and I think-
mess.
I know I am one, and I think everybody else that lives out there, the straightaway, it was for purposes of emergency vehicles and fire department,
Yeah,
is what
that's the whole thing
was
that
told. And
started.
you have problems on the curve, and you have problems on the next curve, but between the two curves, the understanding that I had and other people was that you can park there. Because the between signs, you don't know which is the beginning of the between sign and where the end of the between sign. So are you between
They need
these
to be
two,
taken out.
or are you between the next two? It's confusing.
Could it be
It's
solved by
based-
a sign change?
Well, or is the intent really all that side, all that way? That's the first question.
The ordinance is clear. And if the signs are not, then the signs need to be changed, or we need to change the ordinance to meet the needs of the people. So, right now, the ordinance.
It's not part of this, but
The ordinance says that it's
Well, yeah,
from 602 to 700, regardless of whether it's on the north side or the east side. And it says on the opposite side of the street, Rock Creek Drive, from 5th Street to 660th Avenue, and that
It's the
would
whole
be
way.
that'd
on
be
the odd
everything.
street address side. 'Cause that gets away from east and west.
Yeah, yeah.
North and south. But that's the way the ordinance is now. If that's not the way it should be, then
could it be changed at the same time that you're doing everything else there, all the other no parkings? I mean, that makes
we
sense to me.
certainly could. What do you want?
I think I think it should be east and west. Because
I agree.
It says
If the road's considered a north-south road, it has to be east or west. You
yeah,
can't park
no.
or
you
not
can't
park on the north
the
side of
north
a north-south road.
Yeah, right. So
So
it
it's
should
So
be
it has to be
east-west.
east or west.
straight.
Yeah.
Let me think about this a second.
If you're calling that a
Mark,
north,
Doug, your address is
I'm 610.
And I was
610. So you have an even.
Even is on the west or the north, depending on where the road's curved.
Well, on like Maxwell Street, definitely north-south street.
sounds not-
Even is on the west.
Yeah.
Odd is on the east,
Mhm.
and you're 600. And so if it was a north-south road, you would be,
I'd be on the west or the north,
you
yeah.
would be on
And I
the
would
west
have been
side.
on the
So
east
it's,
side.
yeah, it is consistent with the left or right side going out of town.
Now, if it's a
All the way along.
east-west road, even is on the south and odd is on the north. So again, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, you can maybe clarify it as saying on the north or east side, or north
North
or
or
west
west would be
side.
together.
I think that's more confusing. I think if you're gonna consider a road north and south, it has to be east or west.
I think you identify between the properties that you don't want parked on.
Right.
So if we don't want to park between 610 and 620, then that's what we said it. That's what the ordinance should read, between 610 and 620, and then place the signs at the edge of each of those properties. That just clears it up, remove the north, south, east, west, because it gets too confusing. Nobody really understands or know what side is what.
True.
And so that's one thing, but let me just pass this. The understanding people out there is that horizontal east-west parallel to Fifth Street is parking allowed. This doesn't say that. But I think it benefits a lot of people if you are allowing parking, because the off-street parking, there are ditches there, you
There
can't
were-
pull.
There was no place to park, really.
Yeah.
Is what they said, because going north, it was no parking, and going south, it's now no parking between signs. So any resident there, could you park on the street? No, and the argument that all this came up was for emergency vehicles. And that was several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was when I was still living over there.
This
So
part
that's been,
and this part.
What I think should happen is the curve on the left, the west, then allow the horizontal parallel to Fifth Street is what is straight, the straightaway. And then it curves again down there by Jameson's old house.
Right.
So my thought and understanding was curve on the southwest, curve on the northeast, those are no parking. But the horizontal, the parallel in between for about, I don't know, 100 yards, maybe 150 yards.
You
probably,
can park on the west.
You can park on the west,
Right.
which is north in this particular area.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Does that help? I need to look at. Curves
So
understood.
no parking, Rock Creek Drive from 603 Rock Creek Drive through uh, 1203 would,
that takes it the whole way.
Yeah, that's the whole way.
isn't that what it
And that's
says?
the current
On the
south
west,
side.
right, on the west
On the
side.
one side.
Okay, never mind.
What it-
And Tony's 603, that'd be the first house on the
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So from Tony's clear up to the gravel road.
Right, so old number 13, which is the new number 12, would say Rock Creek Drive from 603 Rock Creek Drive through 1203 Rock Creek Drive. Would be no parking.
Okay, that would cover that one now. The one,
It's away from the south, the east, the north, and the west.
directions are gone.
Correct.
Okay.
That's good.
And so the other one is what? Right now, it's
Number 12.
602 to 700. Well, 602,
Is that Jeff Gathworth
That is the water tower.
from the water tower? And it starts curving.
It goes all the
602
way,
and 700
goes to Maynard's.
is Miners. So no parking on that side of the road from just north of the senior housing through Miners.
That's the west side, correct?
We're done with west though.
East, doesn't make any difference, east,
Doing
west, north,
street
south.
address.
That's the
We're saying
even side.
that side of the road,
So
the
that's-
even house
So it
number.
takes you to the entrance to the farm. Because there's a break in the properties there. That's where the entrance is at for the farm behind the property.
But can we allow it on that straightaway? So go 602 through 60. See, Rod Jones would be the end of the curve. 60, it'd just be those two houses are on the curve, considering the left side of the road. And then allow it again until it gets beyond.
So from 610,
610 to 614 would be allowed.
Well, it's straight in front of me, so 612.
Well, 606 is the last one on the curve.
That's 614.
614 is the one that's right in the middle of the curve.
615, I had people.
So we're saying no here,
Because.
and yes
Give me a
from
bigger driveway.
Basically, we're giving it to two houses.
I've never been
on the
out there.
left, or yeah, on that side, it
Either,
would
they
only
usually
two,
don't
but
make
then
a
it starts to
lot of
curve again.
when the kids were little,
Okay.
they go out to Jamie and Tony's.
Yeah.
Now they drive themselves, I don't have to worry about it.
I think we can leave that at 602 to 700. Such a small section. Changing the ordinance makes us buy 4 signs for 2 houses.
There are 4 signs that are meaningless there now.
Yeah, on the west side.
What
Yeah.
we should have is one sign at the south end that says no parking between signs with an arrow pointing north
Up or down, yeah.
and leave a couple signs, no parking this side. And then where it ends, no parking between signs and pointing the other direction. So that both ends have a no parking between signs with an arrow pointing the appropriate direction. And if we want to make it clear, just a couple of no parking signs in between. And on the south side, we should have signs that say no parking this
On
side.
this side.
And put them along the road, however often we need to.
Well, I'm gonna be outnumbered, but I'm gonna voice my opinion. I still think we need to allow that straightaway, because there's about 6 or 7 houses that would use that instead of parking people on the curb. We have people park on the curb now.
Oh, yeah. Right in front
They
of no
would-
parking
They would
sign.
use, even though it's only 2 houses on the north and 3 houses on the south, or even and odd, it still, I think, would benefit the neighbors a couple houses beyond that when they have guests, graduation parties, et cetera.
Mhm.
So why don't we just
Okay.
close, leave one side closed,
Just leave one
open the other side,
Right. One side closed, one, yeah.
And leave the other completely open.
turn it into a single lane like most of the streets in town are.
That would work too.
So that would be striking the old number 12, the new number 11.
The new 11 would be gone, and that even side would be parkable.
You getting all that, Deb?
No,
No.
I got it.
you've totally lost
He's-
me.
He's got it.
He's got it. We got
I
you.
knew we lost you.
No
a few
parking
minutes
on
ago. He's got it.
Odd
Odd
side,
side,
parking,
parking on the even.
okay on
Even
the,
side. If
The
it's even house, you can park on the street.
old number 13, which is the new number 11,
Oh my gosh.
Still gotta strike the north side.
will say Rock Creek Drive from 603 Rock Creek Drive, or in front of the properties
You wanna leave
from
that at Fifth
603 Rock Creek Drive to 1203 Rock Creek Drive.
You wanna leave that at 5th Street? Cause that keeps that road all the way open on the one side.
Okay,
5th Street to 660th, that keeps that side all the way.
That would be
well,
fair.
it's gonna
That
say
would
in
be
front of
fair.
the properties. And from 5th Street, is that gonna confuse
That's gonna
somebody,
confuse both sides of the
as-
road.
both sides of the road?
If they only read that, they could imply both sides of the road. If you say fifth.
We can have a sign at the beginning of the side, that says no parking this side.
What would that address? be?
Let's just make it 603, because that starts the curve.
Okay.
Then that straightaway, if there's, somebody wants to park on that side, they can. It would be elegant to say that whole side,
Right.
but I don't know how to get there.
There's actually space there to park anyway.
Okay, well, I will make that change, and I will add that to,
Who had the
the
second?
ordinance.
Lauren, did you have the second on that?
Yes.
Do you approve the amendment to the motion?
You bet I do.
Further discussion.
Anything to move on, right?
All right. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ken.
Yeah,
That motion carries.
Snore, honey.
Discussion and action on ordinance change establishing restrictions for accessory buildings.
This is another ordinance that we discussed at a previous meeting. And its purpose is to clarify that accessory buildings can be within 6 foot of a rear property line. That's already permitted in R2 and R3, but all the districts before that, it's silent. So what this does is it makes a change in the supplemental district regulation, and the change is that there are 2 changes. One of them is controversial, and the other is, as we discussed. One of them is C, where accessory buildings can be erected no closer than 6 foot to the rear property line. And the other change is E. Right now, the ordinance has a complex way of figuring how much impervious surface you can have. And I am not sold on the 35%. It is in here as a discussion item only. We could have 10%, we could have whatever is appropriate. The other changes in section 2 and 3 just eliminate the 6 foot to the rear property line out of sections 5 in those 2 ordinances, or those 2 sections of the ordinance, because it's now all in the accessory. And the second page of that just shows a little diagram, which we may or may not want to include, that shows what is pervious and what is impervious. We do have some other diagrams of the ordinance, and this could get added to it. One of the questions we've had is, gee, is a swimming pool pervious or impervious? Well, according to this source, a swimming pool is impervious, but a wooden deck is not, unless it's paved underneath, I suppose. All ordinances that are part of the zoning ordinance, chapter 165, all ordinance amendments have to start at planning and zoning, which must recommend to the council what they feel is appropriate. And so my motion on this is going to be that I move the presented ordinance change to 16509, 10, and 14, and have the ordinance entitled an amendment to the Code of Ordinance of the City of Maxwell establishing restrictions for accessory buildings, and that the amendments be referred to planning and zoning for recommendation to the council, and that the clerk publish the title no later than October 26th by sending the title to the publisher no later than October 20th, so as to allow approval of the ordinance in a single reading at the November 6th meeting of the council. The dates are there because some zoning amendments need 10 days, between 10 and 20 days, instead of 4 and 20. And so this makes sure that we have the publication at least 10 days before council action. And if we want to strike the single reading, we can do that. Make the change to my motion. I would be happy with that. The 35% should be what discussed at planning and zoning, and they should be recommending to us what is appropriate.
So we are not approving 35%?
No,
Okay.
we are not approving 35%. And what we send to them, I could change it to something else, or we could just leave it the way it is and tell them that please figure out what is appropriate. I know that Collins has 20% of the rear yard. Okay, the problem that creates is, think of the house that is built on Webb Court right next to Fifth.
Matt
That's the
Hudson's.
210.
Oh, okay.
Matt Hudson's.
That's it.
Okay, the house sits way back in the yard, way west and way south. Okay, where's the rear yard?
Behind the
Across the
house.
house.
There's not.
The house sits at kind of an angle, and so what's behind the house? Let's say it is the north or the south property line. And so a certain percentage of the rear yard on a 3-acre lot would be really tiny because of where the house sits.
Of the location, yeah.
Even if it's the west line, it would still be really tiny because of where the house sits. And so and then you also have the house that's at Ashford and Fifth, where the front of the house used to be on Fifth, and now they've remodeled it, and the front of the house is now an Ashford. Well, the percentage of the rear yard, is it the old rear yard, is it the new rear yard? That gets to be confusing, and so what this language proposes is whatever percentage you want to take, do it from the whole lot, because it's easy to figure out what the area of the lot is.
And
You
how
don't
much
care
the
front,
house,
rear, side, there's the lot, there's how much you can cover. Do it that way.
Can I build in my front yard under that premise?
No,
Well, to me, I don't understand the relevance of any of it anyway, because we don't even have storm sewers in most of the town. I understand Main Street here has some storm sewers. Eventually Fifth is going to all have storm sewers, but nowhere really else in town has storm sewers, so this really isn't even relevant.
and not relevant in that it should be deleted. I don't
I
understand what you
believe
mean by
so.
not
Yeah,
relevant.
I believe it should not even, it
Okay,
shouldn't really matter.
So we allow anybody to pave their entire lot.
That's what they wanna do, they don't want grass.
But
then you get to
but
the
then all
runoff
the
issue.
runoff's gonna run into your yard,
Yep.
against your house. You're okay with that?
If they wanted to pave their yard, I guess.
They're
I
gonna
like
have to
grass,
have
but
a
it doesn't
permit,
matter to
and
me.
that would be the time that they would be either allowed or disallowed. According to what their house is taking up and what they're wanting to do, that, for the permit, would be the time that it would be done. It wouldn't have to be in the ordinance.
Pardon?
It would be the permit that they would have to get.
But
To
that
do
permit would
any
be based on what
permits based on
percentages we
the
allow.
Yeah, I think the
But-
inspector is gonna go off of what our
So-
ordinance is.
Yeah, that should be something, I mean, the
Are you saying we
know.
should have a limit or we shouldn't have a limit?
Shouldn't have a limit,
Okay.
because it'd be building permit and that would go through.
Well, the building, if there's no
Inspect-
limit, then.
There's no limit, then
Then
there's
they
no permit problems.
have
But
100%.
is that for the state or for the county?
No.
Then why do
It's
we
either
have,
here or not here.
then why do we have?
So we
it?
can soak up some of this without running onto your neighbor and on down the hill.
Right.
That's the impervious versus pervious setup. So we're currently say 15% of your rear and 2 side yards.
We could discuss this all night. It's really planning and zoning
Okay,
needs to recommend to the council, and based upon their recommendation, we either accept it or we do what we want.
So currently
And
there's
so
a
a good place to have that discussion is with planning and zoning, because the ordinance requires them to recommend to the council.
motion. We have your motion.
And what we send to them, we certainly could strike it, but I think that would maybe confuse them, I don't know. So I have a motion, and the motion is to send this, and that I have specific dates in there for publication, and that we bring it back to the council, and maybe we don't, maybe we drop the approval of the ordinance in a single reading at November 6th, because it sounds like there may be controversy on it. So,
is there an applied desire for us, not that we are, and you're saying they aren't, but when they see 35%, are they going to accept that that's our implication to what we want them to recommend back?
tell you what, I can have 2 question marks in there.
And
So right now we have a motion.
And I'd like to withdraw the, so as to allow approval of the ordinance in a single reading at November 6th council meeting.
does it fall on planning and zoning to define pervious versus impervious?
That may certainly be something that they would like to do.
Okay. Just,
Or we include the little picture.
I do agree with Megan to the point where we can't have 100%. You know, but I would, if I was gonna build in town or whatever, if I want something a little bit bigger, a little bit more impervious thing, you know, I wanna be able to do as much as I can, but not, you know, I wanna make it so that.
Well, realistically, I don't think anybody is going to
Nobody's ever
pave their
gonna do
whole
it.
yard. So
Correct.
that was a
Right.
little bit
I know,
ridiculous, but
but I mean, I'm to the point where I wanna make it so that somebody can have something what they want without really trying to flood the neighbors, but giving them a little bit more freedom to build.
I've run some numbers, but I'll wait
Yeah.
until it comes back from
Right.
planning and zoning, because I could double what I've got on
Right.
mine.
Right.
and still be below the minimum.
number, okay.
And to me, that's
Sounds
conservative.
like a
Give
good.
me a second.
So,
But there again, I live downhill from Rock Creek, so if Doug can build so much more, that's gonna send more water down to me. I already have a flooding problem. So you need to think about those people that live downhill.
And you said before Rock Creek, you had minimal, if any, problems?
Before Rock Creek, I didn't have flooding in my basement.
I bet that. Let's see.
All right. As far as I'm concerned, the motion fails. There was no second.
So we are not sending this to planning and zoning if it failed?
right,
I will second it.
no, I'll second it. No, Doug did.
You're seconding
I
the
want to
motion.
second it.
To send it to planning, right?
And I've dropped off the end of it so as to allow approval of the ordinance at a single reading in the November 6th meeting.
So Doug, you.
But everything else would be
All right.
the same.
Ken.
Yeah.
Megan.
So we're only voting for it to go to planning and zoning and see what they say.
Correct.
Yep.
Lauren.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes,
Doug.
Yes.
and I will send it with 2 question marks instead of 35%. So as to not imply anything.
Thank you.
All right, discussion and action on resolution transferring funds between funds and zeroing out accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Ken,
Yeah,
Yes.
that motion carries.
Okay, I was a little slow on that one. Steve passed it, who said, okay.
Lauren.
Lauren, come on, keep up.
You guys have got me all confused.
So I know,
Sorry,
we're
Dad.
taking 20 minutes on some and others we're taking 20 seconds, so she's like, not ready.
All right, discussion and action on solar energy ordinance.
This again is a zoning ordinance amendment, so all we can do is send it to planning and zoning for their review. I have it in a strikeout underline form, and it's strikeout and underline from what they originally sent to us. Is that right, Doug?
Correct.
And
I don't know if they
what
had
they
language,
sent
but
to
they're
us
intense.
did not fit into our ordinance.
Correct.
And so in order to get it to fit into our ordinance, I had to make a few what I think are appropriate changes, but we're meeting with
At least one planning and zoning and maybe 2 tomorrow.
And so they may have some changes that they would like, but if they do, they can always have a meeting and make those changes. So I move the presented ordinance changes to chapter 165.02 and the new section 165.14 be drafted in an amendment form with the title an ordinance amending the code of ordinance of the city of Maxwell, allowing solar energy systems, and that the amendment be referred to planning and zoning for recommendation to the council, and that the clerk publish the title no later than October 26th by sending the title to the publisher no later than October 20th for first reading at the November 6th meeting of the council.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Lauren,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ken,
yeah,
Megan.
Yep.
Motion carries. Discussion and action on cameras and problem areas.
Can I discuss?
This is Megan and Lauren were you there at that
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. So we were at the Parks and Open Spaces meeting, and it was brought to our attention that there is a huge problem down at the park restrooms with, people violating or
Vandalism.
vandalism,
Yeah.
the bathrooms to the point where nobody wants to use them, and it's taking our resources of our city maintenance workers to go down and clean it up. And it's on a continuous,
Every Sunday, every market,
every,
every
yeah.
market.
So Saturday night for Sunday?
Whether it's
well, who
during the
knows?
week or
We don't
who
know
knows.
when it's happening exactly.
Could be Thursday by the time Sunday
It's
market
happening
comes.
after Friday because I know they clean them on Fridays.
Okay,
A week
so
in the
it's,
crowd.
and then also, down at the yard waste, I feel very strongly on this. I do not believe that we should have to shut down our yard waste because of a few violators. We need to figure out who they are, and we need to either insist they come clean it up or prosecute. Absolutely. I guess I'm just kind of fed up with the few bad seeds we have in town that are constantly ruining it for other people. So my suggestion is that we get some trail cams, whatever it takes. I don't know what kind of camera exactly. I know there's not wiring down there, but we need to get some kind of camera in these areas to catch these people.
So I could one up you on that. We could consider something along the lines of where I need to use the yard waste and I get permission prior to using it.
And that works great during business hours, but I don't want to have to call
Saturday,
Tony or Scott off, on their weekend when I'm cleaning up my yard to come open the yard waste for me. That's not
Which
fair. They
is-
deserve their free time.
Which is when most residents.
Yeah.
would want to
Absolutely.
use it, yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I did, consider that at one time too. I think we have to discuss that, but I don't think they should have to.
We did it.
I know the issue for the city is that if the DNR shows up and we have lumber down there, it's closed anyway.
Right.
Right.
So my reaction when I was informed was that we were gonna close it right now and give them an opportunity to clean it up. So, because I don't wanna lose it for the town. If I have
Right.
to lose it for a weekend or a week.
I understand that, but this isn't the first time it's
No, I
happened. This has
know.
happened several
It's happened
times over
since
the
I lived
last
in
several,
town.
exactly.
Yep.
So I think we need to have some kind of camera down there to catch the people, because I am guessing that it is repeat offenders. It
And
is,
maybe even not even in town.
exactly. They might not be from here.
Mhm.
They just see that we have a yard waste. I mean, it's the same with Cambridge. Cambridge is right along their highway. You can see it from the highway.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think we're just,
How many cameras do we have then?
3.
We have 3.
How many do we have at work?
3 are supposed to work.
And are those the ones that have, you can pull up the pictures at any time without having to go get the card?
I reset them up.
Mitzi said that she has 2 cameras that she would donate to the city to use.
The problem with trail cams is by the time it actually takes the picture, the vehicle's passed. Or you see the very front back end. And we've seen it time and time again.
well, I think we would
So
have
they're
to
not
have,
fast enough?
They're not fast enough.
Is
We
that
did have them
because
in
of
2 separate areas, but then we've also had people that have figured out where they were and is in the blind spot. Because there's only so many trees down there that we can.
Mm-hmm.
So the other option is a remote camera that's constantly recording, battery backup, power system, something that can go down Wi-Fi connect and pull the data off of. And then in an extended area like that where you're not gonna pull a Wi-Fi signal and run cords.
What's the
and
cost
cables.
on that? Just,
What's the
Would it
cost
even
of the
matter?
Wi-Fi setup at the park? I know Polk City has one. You can go to Polk City Park and Wi-Fi is available. That would cover, if you put it in the middle of the park right there at the church stand or whatever, antenna, it should cover,
or the big
Will it reach
sign.
across to the yard waste?
Yeah.
You think, okay.
So it sounds like maybe we need some data and information from a reputable Wi-Fi camera installer.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
some Wi-Fi.
Definitely need to pursue that.
Let's just do it.
I mean, it would also be nice for the city to provide Wi-Fi for their citizens at the park at any time if they wanna go down there and work on their computer, or
I
do
think the
whatever.
library does. The
Yeah.
library has an open
Yeah, they
Wi-Fi.
have all Wi-Fi.
Well, it will be easier to do when we have fiber here, because making, public access available in the park, they get overloaded awfully quickly.
Mhm.
It went down there,
So,
cause that's off of the fiber cable.
And that's 2 years down the road.
well.
Not for
who knows?
businesses.
I thought on the, you mean the one from Huxley? That just sent the letters out?
There's
No,
fiber in
Windstream, I was gonna say
town
Windstream has
already,
fiber
but-
already in town.
Windstream's already applied for a grant to expand the fiber in town as
Yeah.
well. I can reach out and get some quotes and estimates and bring it back to the council.
I think we would want to have, cameras that do not store the picture locally, that take the picture and immediately transmits them, to, some other site, because, I know that trail cameras have been vandalized in the past.
Mhm.
And as big as that area is down there, we may need to cover the entrance with one camera that gets a good shot of people coming in, and maybe
There's also license plate readers that we could install that would tell us everybody that enters that. We have those in the prison. Basically, every car that comes through reads your license plate, so.
That would be good.
Yeah, let's
There's
take,
options
let's take
out
a look at that. And going back to what we started with as a discussion, some cameras at the restroom, if that's being vandalized also.
Yes.
Now, that's not inside the restroom.
Correct.
No.
Correct. I'll bring some stuff back to the next meeting.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
So it didn't make you snort.
Any other concerns or questions on that?
Just remember, we're working in a budget.
We'll get the estimate and then we'll see what can be done.
I'll bring multiple ideas.
I've heard lots of people saying how you guys spend too much money. So this is just, keep it in mind.
Well,
This is.
I don't
protection for the
care. I'm gonna
citizens.
spend as much as I can before December 31st.
I knew you would.
All right, discussion and action on city paying for water utilities. So this is something that came out from the meeting we had last week in regards to the water and sewer budget adjustments. Currently, the city does not pay the water department for the water it's used through the 7 municipalities that use the water. And just to clear up the budgetary issues, we'd look to look at getting this moved forward where the city will pay the water department for the water usage for each one of those municipalities.
And sewer.
And sewer.
I was gonna say in sewer because sewer is the one that the auditors brought up.
So part of it was because of an audit issue,
Mhm.
we're not paying, because the water department and the sewer department are separate entities from the city. So we need to be paying for our portion of that. We discussed during that meeting that we would try and enact this so that it would go into effect in July.
Yeah,
When-
next budget,
yeah.
Next budget year, when that water table also brings back the information, but I figured that we could just go ahead and get this piece knocked out, so it's not something that gets forgotten and left. That we can just include it, so it begins July 1 of 25 or 24.
That the audit did say that we need to take a look at that because of the debt at the sewer. We're also going to be taking our water from the water treatment plant on the backflow of the filters and pumping it into the sewer plant for treatment. And so all of, that's going to affect the cost of treatment. And having all the city accounts pay their fair share, it's sort of like taking the money out of one pocket and putting it in the other, but water and sewer are supposed to be enterprise funds, which means that they should stand on their own. So if they are providing water, if they're providing treatment of sewer for a customer, then that customer should be paying. Which means we'll take it out of our general fund or take it out of one of our other funds and pay the bill.
Plus, by starting in July, allows us to budget for the next year's expenses.
Is that gonna be a fixed or a variable? Let's think about that too.
Yeah.
Alright. Council mayor reports.
I don't have anything. Other than the fact that I did receive complaints about water runoff and some improvements that various neighbors have made, and the feeling that those improvements are causing additional runoff and damage at a particular property. I don't know if there's anything we can do about it at this time. I did have a complaint, and then the other complaint is, what are we doing? And I raised this at the last meeting about what are we doing about some of the places in town where we wanted people to clean up their lots, and we said, okay, we're going to defer that for the winter and do it in the spring, and we haven't done anything, and now it's getting to be winter again, so I think Young's is one of them, and Haynes is the other one that have been brought to my attention. That's it.
Alright. Or
I think Deb received a phone call today and it was brought to the city, so I feel like I should address it, unfortunately. We're having the Fall Festival October 15th from noon to 3 down in the city park. I received a phone call last week, and for the life of me, I can't remember her name. Really doesn't matter. The market's never had any goods besides handmade, homemade, or homegrown. It's just not a rule, but something we've honored, something we take pride in for small business, and never really had the need to or feel the need to have Tupperware, Scentsy, anything along those sorts of corporate vendors like that. I received a phone call last week wanting my opinion about having that kind of show in the MAC. And I said, that's fine, it's just the same day as the Fall Festival. I can't tell you not to have it if that's what this phone call is going towards, yada, 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 please don't. That was not what I was conveying. I think the individual took it that way. She called Deb and she was upset. It appears that that vendor show is going through on October 15th, but I wanted to convey it to Deb and the city that that's not what happened, and I'm sorry that it came to the city level, but I think it's all good, and they'll go through with the show. On a second note, tonight's my last meeting, and I wanted to thank everybody for everything. I've enjoyed it. There are times I've not enjoyed it. This is a thankless job, and we are all throwing boulders, and it's not a very appreciated job. I appreciate all of you. I really do. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'd still be here if I wasn't moving, but I appreciate it.
It's not completely thankless. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's been great having you on the council. I think you added a perspective that has long been missed. So, and having you sit right next to me, I could tell a joke or two and quietly and get a response, and so it makes the whole evening worthwhile.
Yes. So thank you. I appreciate everyone.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for your
Lauren.
service.
Thank you. I'm still gonna do cool things, so
Awesome.
don't think I won't
We like
stop
cool
doing
things.
that.
Come in and visit.
I will.
Tell
Thank
us what
you.
you're up to.
Megan,
Just saying, reiterating the dilapidated houses. We went through all the work. It started before I even joined council, and this is my last year. In December, I will be done. So that's another 4 years added to this, and really nothing's been done with our housing list. I think we need to get on it.
Okay.
Because I too am hearing a lot of complaints from people around town that same houses still look the exact same. I have nothing else.
was there do you guys have that list? Go ahead.
I might actually still
I
have
think I
it.
have the original.
There was a list, I'm, it pulled
Original
probably
and
from
map
our old.
you
What was
created.
the original decision to be made with those items? What was it? Were we sending letters? Were we doing abatement? Were we doing?
We were all responsible for
Abandonment.
an area. We did our own audits. We brought back our findings. There was a map. He created a map. I think I still have all that.
I believe that letters were sent out on some of them, weren't there, Deb?
Yeah.
Originally, I mean, way back when the houses first got turned in.
Yep, and then at the memorable meeting, we had a gentleman come in and say that there was selective enforcement because my house has peeling paint on it and was not on the list. So.
Right.
And yes, my house has peeling paint and it was not on the list. Well, I didn't hear it ever yet. Way to go.
Which gets us to what I was gonna bring up tonight. I'm still waiting on the Economic Development Group to meet and decide, are we going to hire a shared nuisance coordinator, or whatever phrase you wanna call it, to handle, we would have to coordinate all of our ordinances and bring a person in. We would pay 1/8 of the cost of whatever we do, but it becomes way too personal is what it comes down to have your neighbor be the person that has to be, something needs to be amended or fixed on their property. So I'm hoping to get this committee together. I volunteered to be on the committee at the county level and get some numbers. It wouldn't start until next fiscal year because obviously there would be a cost to the city to do that, but I do think it's a viable solution because it's impossible to do it. That person would also be impartial, could not be accused of favoritism. So I think there's a lot of benefit in pursuing this, but again, that committee is ready to meet, or needs to meet real soon.
So all these letters were sent. What was the next step action?
It's been so long, I can't remember.
The letters were sent. I think Deb and I did a couple more things with the Young property, and pictures were then turned into the attorney. I think you touched base with the attorney, and the attorney never got back to you.
I haven't heard back from, I need to get hold of him. I've been other things,
Yeah.
but not that.
That's fine.
Priorities.
That's fine.
I'll call him tomorrow.
Doug, when's your next meeting?
We haven't had a meeting yet. If that's on the committee, I will push tomorrow to get a meeting set up to do that. The other thing I have is the owner occupied rehab grant is completed and turned in. We did, and Deb, bless her heart, checked to see, we had $300 that one person did not have documentation for. And we checked with the other two to see if they had any bills that were outstanding. She even called one of the construction companies, but there's nothing there that, so we did lose $300. Wasn't that the right amount?
200 something.
Between $200 and $300 that we did not get to utilize this round, which means next round we need to have a little different planning strategy. Maybe our deadline sooner. We were crunched for time this year. But we need to get this done. Now, $300 isn't that much, but I hate to lose a dime that was granted to us.
I think it's always gonna be hard to, come out to the exact dollars.
Yes.
Because, you're gonna have X number of dollars available to you. You get X number of dollars requested, and so you pick, the projects so that you spend all the money you can, but then if things don't come in, you have money left over.
Yeah.
But it may not be enough to take the next project.
Can't do anything else, and you run out of time is the other issue
Yeah.
to get it done. But I do think it was a good program. And Deb, thanks for all your work on the paper trail to get that going or in place.
I would say Tonga's was the only outside one, really. I can't remember what all the other improvements were, but Tonga's house looks great.
Widening doorways for a lady in the east end of town so that her accessibility, she's mobility impaired a little bit.
Yep.
And then the other one was plumbing and internal.
Furnace.
Furnace, that's what it was, so.
Tonga's
And-
roof and fascia and soffit and gutters, those all look
Yeah.
Major improvements. And how many of these
Great.
could have benefited from that?
a lot.
Yes. So that's all I have.
Bonus is we'll have another 15,000 plus next year.
We hope it'll be more than that, right?
Because that 300 gets reverted back to the fund this year, because we were able to use as much, and then we were also anticipating additional funding for next
Right.
year.
So that's a big plus.
Yeah, we should see that 300 back plus.
Sweet.
Good.
We've already talked about most of it, and that was I agree with not shutting down the burn site just for a couple of people. I know there's some other dumping that's going on too, over on South Street. Right after you get over the bridge, there's somebody that dumped some bricks or something in the driveway right there, right in the corner. So, so there's more than just in town dumping.
Which side of the road? Okay.
South side. In Carroll's area.
Okay.
Carroll's driveway. But, otherwise, I don't have anything else I can think of. Good.
What driveway?
Brian
Brian
Carroll's
Carroll's.
driveway goes into Plunkett's field there.
Right across from us, right?
Yeah, right across from your
We have
lot.
truck camp. Might be able to-
You know, the south side
South side.
of South is not in the city limits once you get to
Right,
the
it's
bridge.
just- right. South side, east of the creek.
So that would have been.
East of the creek, so that would be not in the city.
No, it's not in the city limits.
Ah.
So, right, no, east of the creek.
I don't,
That's what I'm saying, is there's more dumping going on than just.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
All right, for me, as we discussed earlier, we did get the community visioning grant, which totals out to be about $85,000 in development programs. Along with that, Trees Forever also sent me another invitation for another grant of $5,000 today, which I forwarded on to the Park and Recs Committee. And that's to buy additional trees for the community. Ties right into the Trees Forever and Tree USA that we're already working on, so those are some good things. Outside of that, that is pretty much what I have at the moment, so. Have not heard back on Bear yet. Bear Grant. So I applied for that one in anticipation of receiving a community vision grant. So that was to fund whatever community vision came up with. All right, on to the consent
The
agenda.
engineer report said that the county had some things that needed to settle with the city on the trail. Have they talked to you?
I've not heard anything
I
on
haven't
that.
heard anything either.
Once I do, I'll get back to you guys.
I'm leaving one thing in limbo, the SCCF major grant for the disc golf course that was submitted for the September 30th deadline. I'm not 100% sure when we'll hear back from that, but it was a copy and paste of the Prairie Meadows grant that we did. So once I'm leaving that in limbo, but it's always a work in progress and I'm not gonna give up on that project. So I'll just keep Deb and you guys updated.
No problem.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have something else?
Nope.
All right. Consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Megan?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
The last time, do it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that.
I'll let you do that.
You know, in November or December, we're gonna be sitting here until midnight 'cause